Hey guys, Tom Coyne here, drum teacher out here in Los Angeles, California. I wanted to go over this little example that came up on the drum chart archive that some people were struggling with, kind of explain what it is you're looking at. I did notice one member, Mr. Jensen, made a small video of him playing it on a kit, which was correct, so that's what it sounds like. But to be able to read this stuff, it's helpful to know what you're looking at. So I thought I'd go over that real quick. The only thing that's not on this little example that you might need for context is a tempo marking. So we'll just work it like a regular exercise, and you can do it different tempos with different stickings, different orchestrations if you want. This rhythm here is orchestrated for drum set. So it's got stuff on snare drum, 2 tom-toms, bass drum, hi-hat with the foot, and it looks like a couple crashes. But rhythmically, what you're looking at is 2 beats of 16th note triplets, 1 beat of 8th notes, and beat 4 is the 8th note, 16th note combination. So it's fairly common stuff. The thing about bar 1 that's interesting is, for some reason, there's a tie written on that, which makes me think this was either someone using some software who wasn't sure how to hide that second note of the triplet. So they used a tie, but you wouldn't normally see a tie on snare drum music, or drum music for that matter. Because what the tie does is that means that you're going to strike, that's a triplet there, 1 ta-ta or 1 triplet. You're going to strike on 1, and if there was a tie there, they would normally have a bead there on the second note. But what the tie means is don't play that second note. So you'll see that in every melodic instrument, but not necessarily on drum set, because drums are very staccato sounds. You hit it once and it makes a short sound, and it stops, so it's not like it rings out. Cymbals do. So that kind of thing is helpful to figure out orchestrations, like when to hit a splash versus a crash that rings longer. But that's not what this is. That's basically a typo. So when you've got a broken triplet, 8th note triplet or 16th note triplet, you're just not, if you write the 2 beams underneath and the first note and the third note, you're either gonna put a 16th note rest in that little gap, or use an 8th note on the first note. That's less common for drum set. Again, for melodic instruments, that does make a difference as to the phrasing, if it's a long note or short note. But usually you're going to see, like you see in swing notation, the first note, the third note, a rest in the middle for whatever note value you're in, and the little 3 underneath that's telling you that it's a true triplet. So the rhythm alone sounds like this. Okay? So to figure things out like this, I noticed some people thought there were some dotted notes, or there was some discussion over whether these were 8th notes or 16th note triplets. Think of it in terms of 8th note counting. So 8th note counting is when you count, or 2-part counting, as we used to call it at music school. That's just counting 8th notes for your pulse, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All of these rhythms fit into that evenly. If you count quarter notes, especially if you're playing slow, it's easy to get lost. It's easy to speed up, especially if you're at low tempos. Obviously, if you're playing grooves, you're not really going to think about it so much. You're just going to kind of go with the flow. But if you're trying to count things out, generally you want to count the note value that most of the notes are. When I was at MI, they told us always to count the smallest note value, so you were counting what you were playing. But honestly, if you count 8th notes through most things, that's the most consistent tempo you'll be counting, you'll be playing. Because beyond that, you're either doubling 1 and 2 and 3 and, or playing 16th notes, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, or playing half of that, 1 and 2 and. So the 8th note is the constant, just like when you're playing the hi-hat. The 8th note is the constant through the whole piece. So for this, you're going to count it in that fashion. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you note on beat 3, essentially what that is a crash in the bass drum and your foot playing the eighth notes on the hi-hat. Or this is a drum set piece. So if it was a snare drum piece, maybe you would play the 2 eighth notes. If not, you just play that 1 quarter note. So you have that big gap there. It just depends on how you want to phrase it. So with this kind of thing, I would always start students counting with the eighth notes until the tempo gets too fast, and then you just cut it in half. If you're playing way up here, then maybe you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and try to fit it in there. But you have to have a comfort level with the rhythm to do that. The 2 other elements to a exercise like this is, obviously you mentioned the tempo, which isn't marked here. There's the stickings you can use, and then there's the orchestration. So this one is orchestrated for the drum kit. So just like Mr. Jensen played. So essentially it's bass, drum, floor tom on 1. That third note of the first triplet on beat 1, you would play with your right. You're going to skip the second note. Now, a lot of people will play a grace note like that. You see that a lot. That keeps the flow even, especially at mid-tempo or high-tempo. And then you've got 5 notes played in triplet form on the snare drum. Now, if you played right on your floor tom, if you're playing hand-to-hand, it's easier if you play the and of 1 with your left. So right, left. And then the triplet, 16th note triplet on beat 2 is right. So then you see you've got a descending line of 2 notes, right, left, across beat 2. So total John Bonham 70s rock fill. He could play that thing his whole career. Now, what's the kind of problem I have with exercises like this for students is it's too specific. So when I was at PIT, we worked through a book that was like this. It was lots and lots. You play some time, and it would be 2 bars or 4 bars of fill, and it was all orchestrated like this. So you'd spend your whole lesson trying to figure out which drum to hit when, instead of just reading the rhythm and then using your own musicality to orchestrate it. It wastes a lot of time when you're in lessons. Now, for some songs, you want to learn the specific fill, right? But most of the time, what I like to do is just teach the rhythm, and then apply different stickings, and then different orchestrations or different limbs around the kit to play the same phrase different ways. So as far as stickings go, this one's great because it's mostly 16th note triplets. It's 2 bars, 12 notes in 16th note triplet form that you can use your favorite triplet sticking with. So if I play it here, you can see the sticks. So the hand-to-hand version, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. You're going to end on your left hand if you're going to crash, right? But what if you played the 3 groups of 3, the 3 16th note triplet groupings, with right, left, left? Very common sort of funk fusion fill going around the toms, right? Or you can invert that and play right, right, left. Same thing. So all those stickings that you know, 6-stroke rolls, all work for this. You can also do your linear 3-note groupings that you've been playing, right, left foot, or left, right, left, or whatever it is. So if you're trying to teach this to kids, especially, that's a much faster way to get the info in their head. Teach them the rhythm, make sure they understand what they're reading, go through some stickings that they're either have already worked on or it's a way to introduce new ones. And then just have them use those stickings to orchestrate it around the kit. But remember, you can always go back and dissect what's written there. But that's all that rhythm is. There's no dotted notes. It's just eighth note counting, some triplets in there, and a stinger at the end.